Hey there, this is R.A. Manard, Mitzvah for Monks of the Way, and it is the Wednesday Truth Talk. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes for whoever might like to show up, and I'm going to see if they have some questions or topics that they would like covered. So just a couple of minutes here to see if a couple of people show up and if they have any questions or topics they'd like covered instead of my dictating the talk. Hi, I see you there. I'm still going to give it just a couple of minutes for people to show up because, people have busy schedules and whatnot. I don't have the topic determined already. I'm going to hopefully let the audience dictate to me what I'll be talking about. And it's okay because normally I just talk anyway. I don't make a script or bullet points or research the topic and then regurgitate to you what I've researched. That just to me wouldn't be real enough. I think people should talk from what they know and not make speeches like that. It seems kind of impersonal to be preached at from some text that somebody's reading. And I want to avoid that. So it's 2 minutes after. I think I can fill a little bit of time by talking about the Kalama Sutta. That's where Buddha goes to a town and they go, hey, look, we've got a lot of different teachers teaching a lot of stuff, and we've got a lot of our own religions. And honestly, we don't find any reason to believe anybody over anybody else. Why should we believe you? And he goes on to say, you shouldn't use these things on their own to decide that things are true. And even after that, you should check in with the wise and see what they have to say. That you shouldn't decide things because there's traditions or it agrees with your reasoning or you feel like it should be right. Somebody, an authority says so. It's in an old book. These things alone are not reliable. That you need a testing and a proof and a practice before you know things are true. And in that practice and testing, you find out if things are true. And then you realize they're wise, productive, and good for everybody, or they're not. You have to have the whole picture to know if a concept of truth is really true. Let's see if anybody, let's see. Currently joined a corporate job and facing a very mean colleague and trying my best to be patient. Oh, I'm doing well today, thanks. I can't complain much. I've got a lot going for me. If I was a fisherman, I'd have a couple of big fish in my life at least. Anyway, you're talking about conflict and having somebody who is abusive. You say mean. I'm going to use the word abusive because I think that's a little more pointed. And it's a colleague, and you're trying to work with this person. Now it's a little different whether or not this is a superior or just a colleague, co-worker. So we're going to address the colleague. You want to be on an equal ground with this person. I find that if you give up your dignity, you give up your own ability to put in your 2 cents, then it enables that person to continue and develop more abusive ways. You don't want to do that. But then again, you don't want to pose a threat to that person as far as their authority or that their ideas are good or that they're a good person, their personhood. You're basically, as far as the aspect of the teachings of Buddha, what you're experiencing is an interaction where the debate of truth is held, and where you're going to have to practice being compassionate. Um, and it's hard to know what's most compassionate. But I'm here to tell you it's not most compassionate to let people be abusive and just take it. And like I said, not to try to overcome them either with some sort of real conflict. And I'll give you some examples of this. Let's say that, okay, I'll share one of the monk stories with you. Theravada monks made this story. A man wants to be a monk, and the master says, all right, well, what I want you to do is I want you to go and I want you to go around town begging. And whenever you get, I'll give you these coins, and that's all you have to eat, for lodging, whatever. And I want you to go to this town and do this. And he says, and every time somebody says something mean to you, you have to give them a coin. Okay, so the guy's like, well, I don't understand this, but I'll go. And then he goes to town. He does it. He's out of coins the first day. Nothing to eat, nowhere to stay. Comes back. He says, how'd it go? He's like, I had to give everybody my coins. It's like, all right, keep doing it. And so each day he goes out and he gives his coins away. And then he comes back and the guy says, all right, that part of the training is over. Now I just want you to go back. I'm going to give you money for the lodging and the food and stuff, but this time you're just begging. You don't have to worry about that other part of the training for today. So he goes there, and the first thing somebody does is just royally insult him. And the thing is, the guy laughs. He's like, wow, you know what? This is great. I get to be insulted and I don't have to give up my lodging and food money. This is fabulous. I don't care. And that was the whole lesson that he was trying to teach him, was that his perspective on what was going on was damaging him. It wasn't the insult. So I don't know how well that sinks in, but that's what I can remember of that particular teaching. In dealing with a colleague, you want them to be an equal. So you want to be measured, and you want to be conscious, aware. You want to be mindful. So you're going to have to work with a coworker, and you should do that as best you know how, and you should be friendly as best you know how. And depending on your view, your perspective on the abuse that person gives will determine how you can deal with it. It won't really be about the abuse they give. It'll be about your view on it, your perspective, how you're able to deal with it and cope. So let me give you an example. I'm your coworker, and I come in and I go, well, it looks like you don't have this or that done, and that's what I would expect of a person like you. Okay, well, he's definitely been abusive, but what are you going to do? Well, first of all, he said there's a deficiency in your work. Has he presented evidence or hasn't he? Are you deficient and you were supposed to really have that done by now or not? If you are, you should own it. There's no hiding it. Being honest and forthright is definitely the best thing to do. We know that. And if he has any suggestions on how to do it better, that it is even possible to do it better, then you're going to want to know that. And it doesn't hurt to ask. And so you're fostering a relationship with this person, and they should be your friend. And I know it sounds a bit ridiculous on the face of it, but I'm not saying you have to like your friends. Everyone should be your friend. Everyone should be your dear friend. And people that are abusive need your help more than the people that are pleasant to you. The people that are pleasant to you have a better grip on things than the people that are abusive. You'll find that they are abusive because they suffer, because they have problems. And I'm not saying you need to delve into those personal problems if they are personal that a problem has, or that a person has, but I'm saying that you want to foster a relationship of compassion and debate of truth. So you didn't make the interaction about whether he was right or wrong necessarily. You just wanted to know the truth. So it's not about blame. So you didn't make a snappy comeback. You didn't try to throw it back in their face. You didn't just sit there and take it. You're having a friendly interaction with this person. And I'm not going to say that they're going to see it as a friendly interaction. They may see it as an attack. They may see it as you trying to put them down because you have gone into the debate of truth and found the truth. Whether or not it makes them look good or bad or not, it doesn't matter. They're going to have a knee-jerk reaction sometimes. People have that reaction to things that are contrary to their thinking. The fight or flight chemicals in the brain go off if it's not in line with what we want to think. And often that will just shoot people in a direction. Then they'll be saying things that don't even make sense. So you want to be calm, you want to be measured, you want to be in the now, and you want to be able to deal with these things with compassion. I hope I've bridged that topic enough, but there's probably a lot more. Is there some part about that in particular that you still need help with? Gita, I'd be talking to you. Hopefully you're typing. Well, he may or may not be typing. She? Is Gita a she? I believe so. Anyway, any other questions or topics from Shaylin or Bradley would be welcome. See, today's topic is not a topic necessarily. It's just relating to you and applying teachings of Buddha to it. So, any topics that you have to address, we can go there. I don't normally have any bullet points or whatnot anyway. I just talk, so it's not a big deal for me. I know that people have questions about Buddhism, about Buddha, about what in the teachings of Buddha is said about a particular thing. And I'm sure if I had researched it, I'd have more for Gita off the top of my head even. But that is what came to mind as one of the writings of one of the Theravada monks in the Pali Canon, the primary part there. Compassion is beautiful, I see here. Certainly is. Is compassion a topic that you wanted to have discussed then? Any questions or topics, you guys can go ahead and throw it out there and we'll run with it. Interactive. Because I think it's important to be interactive. While I'm waiting for that, I will go on with compassion. There's the sutta that's called, and I will look this up because I forget the name. It's named Compassion and Kindness, but Karanaya Metta Sutta is its name, and it talks about how a person should be, if they're skilled, they know the ways of goodness and serenity. And it tells you what you should have there, and I think you guys should pay attention and look that up sometime. I particularly want to mention the end of it because it is so profound as far as living today in this world. And you can, research more details on it, but it simply says this here: let no one deceive another or hate another, no matter the situation. Let no one, because of anger or disagreement, hope for harm of another. Like a mother would defend her life, her only child, with endless compassion and kindness of heart, we should love all living things. Sending it out, covering the universe, spreading up through the heavens and down to the deep, radiating endlessly, free from anger and disagreement, either standing or walking, sitting or laying down, free from mental impairment, a person should carry with them the memory of this state of being. And that's called the grand abiding, it says. And that's by not holding on to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clear vision, being free of desires of the senses, is not born into physical reality again. And if you pay attention to what he's saying here, he's saying a lot when he's saying a little. What I just read for you is the last part of that particular sutta of my translation, and I've translated many of the words from what you normally would see into something else that's similar, but it really strikes a different meaning. And I think it's more clear and more concise the way I've translated it here. But I'm certainly I've debated that with people that translate those things. Most of them say I've done a great job, but there are always opinions with any kind of a work that you do. As far as karma is a huge thing. We develop our life as we go forward. We make investments. Our intentions make investments in our life and in what happens. And it's like putting money in the bank, except the bank has a limit. We have a limit. Our karma, our effect on our life because of our intention. But it stacks up. It stacks up and it works in ways that we can't comprehend. And we call it karma. We don't know how. We just know that a person that has these evil intents on a regular basis is visited by karma. And they get back the effects of these intentions. And we necessarily don't know how. In many cases, we just don't have a clue. But it doesn't matter, does it? I don't think it does. We know the way the universe works. It's just that we prefer not to see it. We prefer to have a delusional view of reality because it makes us feel more like we know everything that's going on, we're in control, and so on and so forth. Now, this couldn't be further from the truth. I don't know what you've convinced yourself of, and I hope I don't upset you with that, but you're not in control. You're not in control of your life. You have an impact in it. You have a really good impact, but it is beyond your control. The world is not a place that will abide by your intention. That's not how it works. The world is a place, first of all, of everybody's intention, but also the universal laws that make it work. So are you working with those universal laws that make it work, or are you working against them? If you keep banging your head into the wall, you're working against them. If it seems like everything just works for you, guess what? You're probably going right along with it. And that's the place to be. And an important part with karma and with having an effect on your own life is that there are certain moments in time that come and go that at that moment, just a little bit of effort makes a whole huge difference. Where that effect that you had on your life, on the world, is magnified so many times. And there are times when you are pretty much between a rock and a hard place, meaning you can exert yourself to exhaustion and you're not really going to have much more effect than if you just had made a little concerted effort, a little focused effort, and that's it. So how do you know? How do you know when those times are? Well, you need to get in line with universal truth to know these patterns of life, these moments when they come. And there's not a science that I know of to that. You learn as you go, and you recognize these opportunities. I'm sure each one of you has had the opportunity to be at a place in time that comes and goes, and after that, you're like, you know what? All I had to do was this or that. That's all I had to do. I've been trying so hard, and all I had to do was this. But you didn't. The time came and went. You didn't. And so each one of you has experience with this. Now, whether you listen, whether or not you make sense of it, that's the thing. If you are willing to, first of all, like I tell people, I don't think you can really go very far at all unless you can admit that you're small and you're ignorant. And I'm not saying put yourself down that way. I'm saying accept that what you know is almost nothing compared to what there is to know. What you comprehend is almost nothing compared to what can be comprehended. You've gone this far, and that far is nothing compared to how far you can go. So it's about potential, much more than about putting yourself down or anything like that. It's about the realism of the situation. When I think I'm big, when I think I know everything, it blocks out my ability to learn, to notice. Uh, when I think that I've got it all under control, it's very funny, but in my life there's been these points where I've said, hey, watch this. And that has been the most cursed words for me to say when doing something because quite often that's when disaster strikes. When I can't do something I've practiced for a long time flawlessly. And I just had to say it. Hey, watch this. And everything just went into chaos. Usually with with an amount of suffering. And I've done the equivalent, and that's been just the same, where I go ahead and think I'm going to show that I'm the guy that knows everything, when nobody can really be that guy or girl. Anyway, we have 25 minutes, so if we have one more topic, I think we can cover that just a little, and I'll throw in the applicable teaching of Buddha that goes with it. So any topic of interest somebody has. It can be anything and of course we can talk about it as far as the Buddhist perspective. Let's see, I'm seeing self-love. Okay. Well, in the teaching of Buddha, he mentions being compassionate not just to other people, but to yourself. And I see this in people where people will be talking to themselves when they're doing something and go, oh, I messed up. I'm so stupid. I just can't do anything right. And they basically abuse themselves. And we certainly don't need to abuse ourselves. I think we can find enough abuse in the world if we get out there and do anything really. um, as far as love of self, I'm not saying be conceited, but I'm certainly saying that you have to love yourself. Otherwise, I don't think you can really love other people. And your understanding of love may be very profound, may be very large, this understanding you have of it, and it may be very small. The average person doesn't really know that much about love. To them, love is something that happens, and that's pretty much it. But if I would put it like a cup, once again, it has a finite amount of stuff you can put in it. And this is a teaching of Buddha that applies here in a way. And let me give you that. Buddha says to a guy, he says, "Do you lie without any concern that you're lying?" And the guy's like, "No." He says, "That's great." And he takes a cup of water and he throws the water out. And he goes, "Now, a person that lies and has no worries about it, that's what they do with their life, with the goodness in their life. They throw it away like that." He goes, and the person is the cup. And he goes, so he gets more water and he turns it upside down. And he goes, the person who lies and doesn't have any concern about it, they're just like this cup. They can't be filled like that. And then he turns it right side up again. And he goes, you saw that I turned it right side up? He's like, yeah. He goes, even right side up, the person that lies and has no concern about lying is empty just like this cup. And I don't know how much I would need to go over that. I'm pretty sure the meaning is very clear there. He's saying that a person is like a container. And I think that's true with love also. I think you're going to find hate is the thing that you'd put in place of lying. And hate prevents that love, and you can apply that cup teaching to that too. The same way. I think you can apply these things. He's talking about being intentionally deceitful and not caring. It's a lack of concern. So the more love you put in the cup, the less you have of the hate, the sadness, the fear. That is how it works, and we don't even need to understand how it works for it to work. So every chance you get, and once again, we can go back to meditation, reliving the last day, looking over it. When you meditate in the morning, looking over the last day, or in the evening, looking over the day you've just had. And everybody has the experience of hindsight being much better than in the moment. And we recognize these places where we didn't love ourselves, we didn't respect ourselves, we didn't support loving ourselves. And we can do something about it. We can pick apart the causes. Many times there's knee-jerk reactions that we have we can work on. And we can be measured, we can be contemplative, we can be mindful, we can move forward that way. I know it seems like I come around in a circle to many of these things, but really these ideas that Buddha has in his teaching are so central to the psychology of a person and how they get around in life and so many things, just so central. Well, I think we're about out of time. I guess I want to add one more thing to the end of that about self-love, and that's that if a person has troubles with it, one of the things I would suggest is doing some of their own charity work. And it seems a little counterintuitive that helping other people would help you with your own self, but it does. And we could go into the psychology of it, we could go into the process of learning, but suffice it to say that regular charity, doing your own charity work, like let's say you go volunteer at a soup kitchen, something you do for the good of the community, for the good of people, and you don't expect anything in return. Not saying go give people money. That's not what I'm saying. If the only thing you think you can do is give money, then sure. But, I would prefer anything else as far as this example. And that charity work that you do will provide so much insight into yourself that you wouldn't believe it if you haven't already picked up that in your practice. I'm going to end with that, but I want to thank everybody for coming in today. And I know it wasn't a regular topic, so I didn't have stuff really even in mind. So it was not quite as focused as normal. And we covered different topics just a little instead of really using the whole time on one topic. But I'm going to use this as a stepping stone, and I'm going to go ahead and think about what I've said here today in my meditation and pick out aspects or extrapolated topics that I can present in future weekly live talks. I want to thank everybody for coming in today. I hope that the best things in life are yours. I hope that truth is going to remove delusion the way light removes darkness in your lives. All right. Thanks everybody for coming in. Bye.